Stop the Rejections, Make Self-Publishing an Option. Workshop sponsored by the National Writers Union, Boston Chapter Steering Committee. Today's workshop will be focusing on 3 segments. The first one is getting things ready. Once you have your manuscript, you have no idea what to do with it. We will talk about that. Just remember, once you self-publish, you are the publisher. The second segment, we'll talk about platforms. There's quite a few platforms out there, but we're going to talk about KDP, Smashwords, Ingram Sparks, and local printing companies. The third segment is marketing. Make sure you are promoting your book a year before it is published. We're going to talk about press release, book signing, and lots of tips to help you get started. Our panelists, Willie Wyman Pleasant, she's the host and panelist. She's an author of 3 published books, producer, director, educator. She holds a degree from the University of Mass. She's the producer and host of Willie's Web Talk Show, a radio personality of The Village, a member of the National Writers Union Boston Chapter Steering Committee. The next panelist is Ken Washburger. He's an author, educator, and a book coach. Ken is a member of the National Writers Union Southeast Michigan chapter, former chapter member and national officer, founder of the Academy Writers Caucus, and a longtime book contract advisor, as well as a statewide officer of the National Speakers Association. He is the publisher of Anzamphony Press, an internationally known expert and speaker on the underground and alternative press of the 60s and 70s. His upcoming book is Panera's Dialogue, Sketches from My Office. Our next panelist is Tim Shred, editor, Hardball Press, chair, Metro New York Laborer Communication Council. After writing 9 acclaimed medical mystery novels, veteran nurse Tim retired from hospital duty and launched Hardball Press, a social justice imprint with books for grown-ups and children. After the pandemic took hold in New York, Tim began composing songs for his co-workers in the hospital who fought the COVID virus, and songs for Black Lives Matter and the climate crisis. The proud father of 2 fine sons, he lived with his wife, Mary, in New York. This is our panelists. So let's get started.
In terms of, sometimes those are expressed in terms of what somebody else should do. And I just want to remind you all that there is no you in this union. There is only us. This union is primarily a platform that facilitates our ability to help each other, to share resources, and for mutual aid. We have almost no paid staff, and so things get done when people volunteer to do them. The union can do a lot to facilitate that. And one of the things we do, this being an event about books, I particularly wanted to call your attention. We do have a national book division. It's done less than I would like to see it do. I'm a working writer, others are working writers, we all are, including the presenters today. We could use more help. I've been doing it for 12 years and I do not intend to run for re-election. Division chairs will be elected later this year at the Delegate Assembly. And I really want to encourage any of you around the country who might be interested in seeing more like this happen and in facilitating connections between the chapters, between book authors in our union nationwide, to consider volunteering to take on that office. So thank you again. As a native of the Boston area, whose first trip after the pandemic was back to Boston to visit family. I'm back in the fog in San Francisco, but I'm really excited at the example that the Boston chapter has set and continues to set for what we can all do to help each other. So thank you, and take it away.
Thank you. So we're going to get started. And the first thing that we talked about in doing this workshop was people was always asking me, now I have my manuscript, what do I do? Where do I go? What can I do with it? That's always the first thing people say once you finish writing. They say the easiest part is the writing. Now I have to do the work. And I think Tim said it to me, and I never thought about it. When you stop looking for rejections and you started doing your work and doing it on your own and holding all the royalties yourself, you are your publisher. You are the publisher. It's in your control. You don't even have to worry about giving up any rights. You control it all. So I want to start out with talking about the important parts of editing, copyright, peer review, book cover, and ISBN number. So I think, Tim, you were starting this off. Okay.
Thank you so much, Willie, and good to see everyone here today. I'm going to try and talk fast so we get a lot of material out, and then if people need clarification, then they're welcome to add questions. So the first thing is you need an editor to review your work. And the reason for that is every writer has weaknesses in their writing that they're not aware of. We all have bad habits. We repeat things. We might go to an easy cliche or an adverb instead of a description. And an editor can pick this up and show us to strengthen our writing. Absent an editor, it's also helpful to be part of a writing group that critiques your work in a supportive way. You don't want a critique group that is just very critical and very harsh. You want people who are supportive, but who are honest with you. My first writing, when I started on a novel, before the internet, I was in a creative writing program at a community college. And on the last day of class, I signed up a bunch of people, and we met for years in my apartment to read aloud and receive feedback. So it's very important that you get feedback from an editor or a writing group or both to critique your work and help you buff it up. As far as your copyright, there's no substitute for filing your manuscript with the US government Copyright Office. People sometimes bandy about tricks that you can use, like mailing the manuscript to yourself and not opening the package and things like that. There's no substitute. It's not expensive. It can be done digitally to upload your file. So it's really, really important that you register with the US Government Copyright Office. Now, to say just a little bit something about the design of your book. It's also useful if you hire a professional artist to design your cover for you. It's easy to get a photograph or to draw something, but if you do not have graphic art training, it's going to be difficult for you to really bring out a cover that has the most impact. And you want that cover to evoke the feeling or the spirit of your book. You want the artwork to elicit the kind of emotion that you expect or you hope your book will elicit. And a good graphic artist can work with you on that and put that together. I had a mystery with a serial killer, and I was thinking about the experience in the barbershop, a men's barbershop, where you have a mirror in front and a mirror in back, and you see your image repeated, getting smaller and smaller into infinity. And I thought, wouldn't that be interesting to have a series of cadavers that go off into infinity, because it's a serial killer. And so the artist I use, and I would recommend her to you if you're all interested. I'll put my email in the chat. But she created a series of corpses on stretchers. Didn't quite go off into infinity, but pretty darn close. And I thought it was an effective evocation of the threat of the serial killer. So very helpful, I think, to get graphic art support on the book. And also, it's also helpful to have your title at the top of the book. The reason for that is it's not uncommon when your book is on a table that's being laid out at a book fair or a book conference, they're going to be stacked like this. And if your title is on the bottom of the page, no one will see the title. So it's useful, if you can, to get the title at the top of your page. It also stands up on a rack if people are going through a rack in a bookstore. The design of the book, the interior, again, many of us are not do not have graphic art training, and so it's very easy to take a Word file and think, oh, well, the Word document looks okay. You know, I have my square margins on 2 sides. It's okay. I'll just convert that to a PDF and upload it. The problem with that is that it's not going to look like a professionally designed interior of the book. And when people first pick up a book on a book table or in a bookstore, and they pick it up and they open it and they look at it, they can tell at a glance if it's an amateurish design. So you want to hire a book designer who can design the interior of your book so it's attractive. Here's one by Jeff Tweedy, a wonderful songwriter. And it just has a nice, simple, uncluttered look. The typeface is not too large. It's around 12, 11.5, 12, 12.5, maybe a Georgia or a Times Roman. But you want to hire someone to make it attractive. I bought a self-published book by a young woman at a book fair in Manhattan, and all of the type fonts were italics. The entire book was in italics, and it made me dizzy to try and read it. You know, it was just, you know, I didn't, you know, I felt for her and I bought her book, but it was just really an unpleasant experience. And sometimes people will have the typeface too big because they don't have enough text to fill a book, so they want to stretch it out. And again, that shows. You know, it shows. So you want to really rely on the professional experience of someone who's designed interior books for you. There are strict guidelines that the digital printing machine is going to use, and so it has to meet those guidelines, or the machine will reject your manuscript, and you will not be able to get it printed. And again, you need someone. If you need someone to design your book for you, so it's ready to go to printing, the NWU is happy to recommend a number of people. You can put it out to bid, and you can find someone who's in your price range who can design the interior for you. So the machine will accept it for printing, and so it looks as attractive as possible. Last thing I'll say, and then I'll turn it over to Ken, is the ISBN. There are a number of companies that are going to sell you an ISBN at a low cost. That's because they buy them by the thousand. When you buy 1,000 ISBNs, the individual cost is very low. So they mark it up and they charge you. But that ISBN is associated with the person who purchased it. It is not associated with you. And if a bookseller goes to look for your book and uses the ISBN, they're not going to find you. They're going to find the owner of the original order. So you really want to spend the extra money, and you go to a company called Bowker. We'll put it in the chat, Bowker. And you want to purchase your own ISBN. That way you own it, and you can use it to distribute your book through any chain, any distribution chain of your choosing, and you will control the access to it, because the bookseller who looks up the book will look for you. That's about it for now for the pre-work. Let me turn it over to Ken. I know he has a lot more to say on this.
Well, thanks, Tim. And
Barbara, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
before this comes along, something is crackling. It looks like everyone is muted except the person on the phone. You on the phone, make sure you're not using any other device. You can only use one at a time. Thanks.
And I have to say, we are recording this. So if you don't want your face seen, I would just suggest you stop your video. But we are recording. Hopefully you'll be able to get to see this again if you're missing any information. And I just want to add to what Tim said about the ISBN number. That's very important. So I hope that you were paying attention to that bit of information, because that is very vital to you. Okay, Ken.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Well, first of all, thanks to the Boston chapter for sponsoring this amazing event. Zoom has certainly made a lot of, given us a lot of opportunities. And thanks to all of you who are considering independent publishing. I've published traditionally and independently. I've used an agent. I've published on my own. I've been a contract advisor with the union for over 30 years. And I've reviewed more books, more contracts than I can keep track of. And all I can say is that at best, they were horrible. At worst, they tore at our dignity. They treat us like competitors, not partners. And I've advocated for independent publishing for years. Today, it's so easy. Now that presents a danger. It's so easy that people think, wow, I can get my book out immediately. And I want to give you one quick example. I joined a networking group a number of years ago, and one of the members owned a gym. He was a bodybuilder and he owned a gym, and he had written a book about being a bodybuilder, taking care of yourself. So when I joined the group, he was so excited to meet me, and it was an author and all that. And he invited me to his gym, and he showed me his book. And I thought, being the editor that I am, I thought he was looking for help. He wanted me to edit it and, make it better and all that. And I started giving him honest critiques, but he was looking at me all glassy-eyed. And I realized that he really wasn't looking for critiques at all. He was just showing off the book. And what stood out for me more than anything was the cover. The cover was solid black with white type on it for the title. And that was it. I mean, that was it. Solid black with white. There was no way by that time I was going to critique it for him. So I just said, oh, great, nice job. But that's an example of how easy it is to publish and the disasters. It's easy to publish, but your book ultimately has to look as if it was published professionally. You are a pro at this point. So editing is one important phase. There are two parts to editing. Before you send it to the professional, you want to get feedback from your friends, from your peers. And one way to do it is to use social media. Just put the notice out saying, hey guys, I've got a book coming out. Who would like to comment on my unpublished manuscript? There's something I think it's exciting about looking at an unpublished manuscript. You're going to get a lot of people who want to look at it. But here's the key. You need honest feedback. So what you do is you send them a cover letter and you just refer them to the attached manuscript. And then you ask them specific questions. You don't just say to them, hey, what do you think? Do you like it? If you say, do you like it, everybody, I guarantee you is going to say yes. That's not going to help you at all. What you want to do is ask them specific questions. Where was it clear? Where was it unclear? What questions did it raise? Where was the dialogue unconvincing? Keep the yes or no questions, the either or questions to an absolute minimum. You don't want anyone to say this is nice. You want honest feedback. And you're looking for the negatives, not the positives. Positives don't help you any. Tell them to comment freely. It's a myth that your mother can't give you honest feedback. Yes, she can. You should give her specific questions. Give a strict deadline. If they're doing it voluntarily, they may think, well, I've got all the time in the world. You can't act that way. You need it back right away. So tell them you're on deadline. They'll respect it. And having done all that, be ready for honesty. you'll get it. It's going to knock your socks off. And I'll tell you, my new book, this one called "You've Got the Time," how to write and publish that book in you. I sent this around when it first came out, or when I had my first draft done. I thought it was pretty decent. I'll tell you, the comments were bitter. Fortunately, nobody said you're a bad writer, but they said, hey, you got to have more of this, and what about this, and you didn't say anything about this. And I said, well, those aren't my strong areas. I was going to let other people take over. They said, no, Ken, you've got to have it. I said, okay, and I, of course, did what all journalists do. When we're not experts on everything, we interviewed the experts, and we sound like we're experts. And I ended up with a great book. I'm really excited about it. But it was because I got the feedback. That's the first phase. The second phase, after you get their comments back, you incorporate them, then you go to the final editor, the professional. That's the one that's going to charge you a lot more, but you're going to get prose that sings, that it reads like poetry. That's what you're looking for. So that's the editing side of it. As Tim noted, you are the publisher. When you go online, there are a lot of different platforms you can choose. You don't have to choose only one, though. If you can only go with one, obviously you're going to go with Kindle. If you're going, online, because they're the biggest. But the key is you don't have to. Why settle for one? You don't ever use a platform that requires you to give up your copyright, or that demands exclusivity, or that claims that they are your publisher. Okay, they're not. You're the publisher. They're only the printer and the distributor. So use as many as you can. Go where the readers are. ISBN, Tim talked about that. Let me just add a couple thoughts. Free, there are a lot of platforms that offer free ISBNs. Free, quote unquote, means that they are the de facto publisher, not you. If turn around and run, you don't want those. And then order from Bowker, our Bowker, Bowker. The key is to remember that every format you use requires its own ISBN. So if you go ebook, a soft cover, a hardcover, and then an audio book, that's four different formats. Each one requires its own ISBN. So you got to order at least 4, but when you order them, the price goes down very much as you order more. And if you're going to publish one book, who says you're only going to publish one? You might as well do 2. And if you do 2, you're going to do 4. That's 16 potential ISBNs right there. So you got to order a lot more than you need. If you think you only have one book in you, trust me, once that book comes out, you're going to be thinking of your next book already. It's pretty exciting. So you got to order more than you think you need. I think, when I did my first book in 1987, I'm pretty sure ISBNs were free back then. I don't know for sure, but all I know is that I've got 100 ISBNs in my files. You use them one at a time as you need them. So I've got 100 ISBNs. There's no way I could have afforded 100 back then. What it costs now. So I'm pretty sure they were free, but they cost now. With book covers, we're talking about the difference between an ebook and a soft cover is that the ebook does not have a spine or a back cover. It only has the front cover. So the front cover for all your books will be the same. But then if you go soft cover and hardcover, you need the spine, you need the back cover also. The front, Tim had a good point about having the title at the top of the page. The other point to keep in mind is that the lettering has to be big enough so that when they look you up online and the icon, the little picture of your cover shows up on whatever platform they go to, the lettering has to be big enough that even in that little inch, 2 inch, whatever icon, they can read the title. So keep that in mind. The back cover, the back cover, the format I've used, and I didn't make this up, but I use this, a third of the page will be an overview of the book. If your book is a how-to, that overview can have bullet points. What are the key points, the key takeaways that they're going to get if they read it? If it's a novel, or if it's just a nonfiction book, it'll be a summary of the book. The middle third, you put a couple, 2 or 3 testimonials in there, short ones, so you can fit 3 on the page there, on a third of the page. And the bottom third, you have your bio, and also on the bottom right-hand corner, you leave a little rectangle where the barcode can go. Now, there are companies that you can pay to create that barcode, but you don't have to. That's the key. You don't have to. If you upload on Kindle, which is Amazon, what you do is you lay out the back cover and you leave that area for the ISBN blank. It looks funny. It seems funny with the whole back cover, and then there's a blank area, but leave it blank. You upload it onto Amazon, and when they actually print it, when they create it, they put the barcode in there. It's free. It's beautiful. So don't worry about that at all. Just leave the rectangle the right size. I don't ever put the cost on the page. I never put that on there. I think all those are the main points I wanted to make about the editing, the ISBNs, and the book cover. Am I missing anything?
No. We're going to, I had a question. I think one of the participants was saying something about free, you just kind of touched on it, about Amazon. Now, Amazon's, they will give you a free ISBN number, but like he said, whoever has the ISBN number owns it goes with the title of the book.
Yeah, I think it's with I think the key is when your book shows up in books in print, they'll list who the publisher is, and they go by the ISBN. So if you use a free ISBN from Amazon, they become your printer. It's an investment. Look, if you're an author and you're going independent publishing, there is money you're going to have to put into it. That's the reality. That's why authors are scared to do independent. They're afraid of all the costs. That's the investment you make, yeah. Because on the other side, the profits are all yours.
I think it's good, and Tim, I think it's good that each author who's going to do independent, who's gonna start publishing your book, to really think about how much money are you willing to invest in yourself. Get yourself a budget and work within your budget, because you can do it within a certain margin. But just remember, the person, if you get a traditional publisher, they're spending money, and they're going to get their money back way before you get any money. So if you take that money and invest in yourself, who not want to invest in themselves? Tim, I think you had something you want to say.
I wanted to add to what Ken said about the ISBN. If you use a free ISBN from Amazon, other distribution channels will not recognize it. For example, Ingram. Ingram is a major wholesaler, and they sell books to bookstores. Most bookstores buy books from Ingram as well as other wholesalers. If you have an Amazon ISBN, Ingram will not handle it. So you can use an Amazon free ISBN only if you do not expect your book to ever be carried in a bookstore. And it's really for the person who's really broke and really has no money. I mean, if you really have no money,
good point, Tim.
You can go with it. I've done it for books where it was like I published a book for $11.99 New England, and the cover was like light yellow, and then I thought, oh, I could do it in pink too, and so I did another one in pink with a free ISBN, then another one in green with a free ISBN, just through Amazon, just because I was playing around with it. But if you want your book to be carried by other distributors, then you gotta go with Bowker. So
thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Go on to platforms.
Hey, did you want me to go first on that, Tim? Kim, did you want me to go first on that?
We had
Absolutely,
a couple
absolutely.
of questions.
Oh,
go ahead.
Okay.
We had a couple of questions there. We're going to move on to the platform. We had, can I change my ISBN number if I publish on KDP?
No, once you got the ISBN, that's it. Pretty sure.
Amazon gave me my book back with the ISBN to reprint the book. I need a new ISBN title and book cover.
Well, you can get your own ISBN from Barcode, and I would change the book cover just to differentiate it from the original Amazon issue. Yeah, I would do that.
I hope someone will also talk about blurbs as a book platform. We haven't gotten to platforms yet, as I would like to know someone's experience with blurbs, B-L-U-R-B. Book designs, I've worked with Worth and got a good design job from them. I don't see any other questions. I think they're mostly comments. All right, we're going to move to platforms. And my suggestion to people who are thinking about writing a book or publishing, with these tips that we have given you, my suggestion is go to a bookshelf, look on a shelf, look at the spine of the books. When you look on the shelf, why did you pick that book? What was attractive about that book that made you want to buy it? If you're that person, you're going to be judging for the people that are going to be looking at your book. What's special about that cover that made you pick up that book? Was it the color? Was it the wording on that? That's going to tell you a lot about. And open the book. If the fonts are really small, you're going to pull that book up and put it down. Those are all the things that when you're looking at your book for yourself, the size of the book, would I buy that size of the book? So those are things that's going to help you decide what type of book you're going to design, what type of book you're going to write, what color you want, what's attractive to you when you're talking about designing your book. Okay,